And a good day to all those logging in to Money Show's virtual event, Investing in Alternatives. We do have about 3 minutes before the start of the next session, so sit back and we will be back with you momentarily. You do have a chat box next to your video player, so be sure to type in any questions as we go along. Time permitting, we might be able to answer a few of those questions from David, so get those questions ready, and we'll be back with you momentarily. Thank you so much for being here.
Is it okay if I record on my end?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start it now. Request to record.
All right, you're good to go. All right, and I'll just lead us off with an intro and we'll be good to go. All right, everyone, welcome back to Money Show's virtual event. Thank you so much for being here. We're pleased to welcome David Capablanca, who's a verified seven-figure short seller with a 90% win ratio, who turned $29,000 into seven-figure profits in just 4 years. After surviving brain tumor surgery while attending UCLA's master's program in architecture, he developed groundbreaking strategies for ethical short selling that have helped thousands of people achieve financial freedom. Through his popular podcast, The Friendly Bear University classes, and Discord, Capablanca teaches traders to combine technical expertise with mindset mastery. In pursuit of his mission to empower everyday people to take control of their financial futures, he's authored the book Short Selling Master: Proven Strategies for a High Stakes Day Trader. David, it's a pleasure to have you here today. It's all yours.
Thanks. Well, thanks for having me, and it's really cool to be part of the Money Show. Okay, so the first thing, yeah, so I recently my book is coming out. It's a highly anticipated book, Short Selling Master. Um, so we have 30 minutes here, so short selling or trading takes you're not gonna learn like everything I do in 30 minutes, even in my book it's not enough, so it's like, but what I can give you is the concepts that I use to trade and to short sell. So the concepts are, it all boils down to supply and demand. So I look for stocks that are very bad fundamentally, that are borderline fraud, that are borderline fake companies. There's surprisingly, I like, for those that are not too aware of this niche, there's a ton of these, like basically borderline fraudulent companies listed on the NASDAQ specifically. I know that was hard for me to believe when I first started trading and when I first wanted to get educated in this approach. I was like, wait a second, NASDAQ, isn't that like there's like people go and there's like confetti and like they celebrate getting listed in the exchange at Wall Street, and I thought it was like a very sophisticated place, and it is, but not for the small cap companies. The small cap companies and micro cap companies, 250 million market cap or less. It's where fraud lives. And these stocks, they have some very, very volatile swings. Some of them go up hundreds of percents a day, some of thousands of percents a day. It depends on the season. Everything's in cycles. And it's all like it's all based on supply and demand, just like the real world. In the real world, you have I used to work at the mall as in my late teens and early 20s, and I remember Black Friday, and I remember like certain times of season, the seasonality, the Christmas season, the Santa run, the shopping. It's all supply and demand. So it's like the same way the mall and is it's dead at sometimes, and then sometimes it's just like craziness. And same thing for the market. Sometimes there's nothing happening, and sometimes it's absolutely crazy. So so sometimes the stocks can run for no reason. It's just like it's a hot theme. It's just a cycle, a hot cycle. So that's has to do with supply and demand. That comes from the demand. And so like when you have a small amount of supply, small like a not a smaller demand could just move it up exponentially for no reason, for little to no reason. So I have over the years I've developed my own criteria to look for. Everybody's got to have, if you want to be a professional trader, you got to have criteria and rules and strict criteria and strict rules and proven criteria and proven rules. So I share that in my book, Short Selling Master, my 9 core proprietary criteria, and of course in my Friendly Bear University program, which everybody signs an NDA to join because I don't want like the world knowing every single thing I'm doing because everything is edge, and I don't, you don't want to destroy your own edge. But in my book, I cover a lot. I give away the most I've ever given away. But the rules are all based on supply and demand. So I'm looking for bad companies. They it's like it's like a scheme, you know? It's they run the stock up for little to no reason. They raise capital. They use that temporary run to raise capital. They sell the inflated shares at low prices to institutions, and then the institutions dump it, you know? Most of the time it's institutions, very small institutions. These like small hedge funds that flip these companies for profit, these bad companies for profit. And they're like the banks and the underwriters that deal with these companies are just notoriously like shady. And it's like whenever you see one, like it's a small world. There's probably like 50 of these banks and 50 of these players that invest in these companies. When their stocks are high, they get a very discounted shares. They have relationships with the companies, and they just keep doing it over and over, and then they just dump. And then the people that lose here are retail traders, people that long these companies for the most part. Short sellers lose too because it squeezes too much. Sometimes they squeeze 1,000%. I've seen some squeeze 5,000. Last year was I saw one stock squeeze 5,000% in one day. That was the most I've ever seen. But I've seen stocks squeeze 10,000% in a few weeks, 3,000% in a week or two. So it's like you gotta have your rules. I know it sounds scary, but like they have a common denominators. The ones that squeeze like this, they have a common denominator. It's easy to avoid them. So it's just like retail traders or short sellers that don't know what they're doing. They enter this realm, and they enter the realm thinking they know, but they really don't know. And then they learn the hard way. They learn by losing a lot of money, losing their account, because your account can go negative as a short seller. That's how they get their lessons in, and then it's too late. Was the lesson worth the loss of the account? Probably not. And most of the time, it has to do with short sellers not knowing the true supply and demand concept, like owning it. So, for example, I have a strict rule: no nano floats, no floats under 1 million. There's a stock squeezing today; it's under 1 million float. It's not even up that much. It's up 71% NVVE. Looking at it right now, 520K float. It's a slow day in the niche of short small caps. So I'm sure some short sellers that don't know what they're doing are shorting it. And it might go down a little, it might go up a little, who knows? But there's that 1% chance that it can squeeze to $100, which is what another stock did. Um, SDOT, another nano float, under 1 million float. So those short sellers that are trading this, they're gambling. They're gambling with their career. Because if you short this, you get away with it today. Uh, not too long from now, one is going to squeeze to 100, and you're going to lose your account, lose your career. It's not worth it. No one trade is worth risking ruin. And this is something a lot of traders, long and short, they don't understand to the fullest. They get distracted by social media. They get distracted by comparing themselves with people on the internet or getting false information, seeing the wrong YouTube videos, talking about the wrong things. The wrong things, I mean like P&L constantly, P&L, P&L, P&L. Professionals don't think in P&L or payouts, funded account payouts, payouts, payouts. This is wrong. Um, I've never thought in payouts. I don't have these, by the way, these funded accounts they're it's the wrong way to go. Um, I never think about payouts, but like payouts, I just have an account and I make a lot of money and I know what I'm risking 3 to 1 and that's it. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked with the whole payout thing. It's just like this whole new phenomenon these days. People are just consumed in the wrong things. But but yeah, so I saw a base interview recently. I live in Los Angeles with the Los Angeles Dodgers, Mookie Betts, and Mookie Betts was interviewing. He has his own podcast, and he's interviewing someone, another player, and he's saying, "Yeah, so us, we want to win a championship. We think in terms of like the whole season. We gotta like, it's a long season. It's 162 games in a baseball season. We got to stay healthy. You got to do the right habits and routines every day and the right mindset. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So it's not about performing like for this month or for the All-Star game. It's like for the whole season and then the postseason. So it's like that's the same thing with trading. You got to think in terms of like the long run, the year stats, not consumed with the month or with the day to day. I know like that's on social media, people consume with the day to day. You got to think in terms of the year, the longevity. And that's how I came up with my rules. So no nano floats, no floats under 1 million because at the end of the year, for 12 months, if you short nano floats, you're going to run into 5 or 6 of them that are going to just absolutely crush you, lose everything. So when you see the day to day, it's a mirage because like you might win on some, but you're playing Russian roulette. That's what short sellers do that a lot of times mistakenly. They don't know any better. They play Russian roulette and they don't even know they're playing Russian roulette. So I have my rules, no nano floats, no Chinese stocks. It's no secret now that Chinese stocks in small cap land, they just absolutely invaded the place. There's for the past couple of months, there's nothing, barely anything has been running except Chinese stocks, and the Chinese stocks are the most manipulated stocks. The most manipulated. They, I've never seen this amount of manipulation in my entire life. So like there was a stock INHD recently. It's indefinitely halted right now. The Nasdaq halted it. It got so scammy. They halted it indefinitely. And the short sellers in it, they're they're bleeding away in fees from their broker every day because you can't trade it. It's just stuck in there, and it's 600% borrow rate overnight, and it's just bleeding out every day. So a lot of short sellers are short. That might be halted for like years. It just your account goes negative and negative and negative. It just it's very bad. But that stock halted. Um, it had a volatility halt. So the exchange, the Nasdaq has a volatility halt. And if there's too much volume in a certain amount of time, they halt it. And what they do is overseas, they start manipulating it, putting these fake bids and fake ads, asks to get it higher and higher. And just it stays halted. It stays halted because the bid and ask are so high from the original price that the exchange is not opening it up. So they know how to do this. So it's this is a not a secret anymore. It's apps everyone knows about it that trades these things. It only happens with Chinese stocks only. So there's been another one, TCGL and INHD this year that I know of, and I think there's a couple more. But you got to stay away. That's a strict rule I have. No Chinese stocks, no matter what. And it might be a slow day and there's nothing else because right now it's the summertime and they say in summer sell in May, go away. It's the same thing for trading small caps. It's just a very slow season, but actually in the slow season, once out of a few times out of the blue, crazy outlier squeeze will happen, and you don't want to be short that. So you just got to be very selective, strict, stick to the rules. Um, my rules are great and I share them in my book, but most traders know their rules. They know it for the most part. They're not perfect. That's why we have risk management. But most traders know their rules, but they break their rules. They're undisciplined. They're distracted. So like for example, My watch list, I just mentioned Chinese stocks. It was very easy on my Thinkorswim and also my Trade Idea scanner. I went in there and I made sure every single um Asian stock is blocked. I don't want to trade any of them. So like I don't even see it. What better way to have discipline than to not even see it? So for example, there like I filtered out my scanners to only see certain things. Because if you see everything nonstop, you're gonna be you're not gonna perform well. And that goes for chat rooms. Most people have too much noise. Chat rooms, TV or whatever it is you're watching that's feeding you pics or feeding you a lot of noise. You got to cut all that out because you need, when you know what you got to do, you got to have extreme focus, to execute. But anyways, going back to supply and demand, now we're going to go back. I look for companies that need cash. That's the first thing I look for. They need cash. And now they have like a registered S3, which is a shelf where they can tap into and get more and raise more money by selling cheap shares. And I look for certain dilutions. There are tools these days, along with AI. There's one I use called Ask Edgar and Dilution Tracker. My broker Cobra gives them to me for free. If you have an account, they include it, which is great. It's like you don't have to have that extra cost because it's expensive. Um, and these softwares point out the forms of dilution. So, for example, I look for warrants. My eyes go directly to the warrants, go directly to the convertibles. Those are forms of dilution, and I see who owns it. What funds, what small funds own this dilution? Because once it's diluted, the supply increases. So think of it like orange juice, like a nice squeezed, fresh squeezed orange juice with pulp and everything. It's nice and healthy. Vitamin C, it's beautiful. But if you add water to it, you're diluting it. Then it's not so nice anymore. It's diluted. And the more water you put in, the less orange juice. So some of these companies start out like 2, 3 million floats. Public float is the amount of shares that can be publicly traded. It's a supply, a tradable supply. Now, when they dilute, they dump more shares onto the float. It becomes 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, sometimes 100 million. I've seen 500 million. So that float, I've seen stocks that, they just crush it. It goes from like $5 a share down to like 5 cents. And when it was at $5, it was like 5 million float. And now at 5 cents, it's at like 500 million float. So it's just beaten down and it exploded. And then to remain listed on the exchange, this is the crazy part. They just do a reverse split. So now that 500 million float turns back into let's say 50 million float and it gets its price above $1 because they have to meet the exchange requirements of Nasdaq to be over $1. So the company doesn't just go to zero. They do a reverse split. Now the float is it's just reset and they do it all over again. They put a catalyst out to squeeze the price. Um, they raise money. That float starts to increase, increase, increase over 6 months to a year. It's just a massive float. And yeah, this is the I call it the reverse split cycle in my book. Um, it's it's just it's the game plan of all these small cap companies. So it's I love this niche. I absolutely mastered it, and it's a life-changing niche because it's so volatile and it's so predictable. So I was able to go from 29,000 to several million now, and I'm excited to where this goes from here. But I know after a certain point, small caps will be too small for me. Um, I just finished reading the Market Wizards Next Generation book and by the same publisher as my book. So my book is the same publisher as Market Wizards. In fact, Jack Schwager, which wrote Market Wizards, he endorsed my book. Him and Tom Hogard endorsed my book, Short Selling Master. So go get it, by the way. So anyway, and that in Market Wizards Next Generation, Simon Russo, which is a pseudonym for a trader. It's not his real name, but he trades similar to what I trade with the fundamentals. And he said it there himself. He said after 20 million, he's made 500 million. but he made like 20 million in small caps shorting, and then he went to mid caps and large caps. And by the way, I have a part of my plan for that for the future is to grow my short report outlet, Fugazi Research. So I'm the founder of Fugazi Research, and it's doing very well. And for example, some of the stocks that we wrote reports on, like today actually, SDOT dropped 70%, negative 70% on the day. Can you imagine? Negative 70%. So Fugazi Research, which is me and my team, we put out a report uh 2 days ago, and it dropped 18%, 20%, but now today's 70%. So these and I plan to go bigger. And for example, before SDOT, we published on RDW. So RDW, that one was a good one. That one's very liquid, and that's $1 billion company. That's not a small cap. That's a big cap or mid cap. And you can go bigger on these plays, which is great. This uh this is really inspiring for me because now I can grow. I'm not contained in small caps. I have more room to grow, which is exciting. And it all comes down to supply and demand and fundamentals, and mastering the craft, picking a niche and just mastering that niche with research to increase the odds. The title of this is high odds short selling. How do you increase the odds of short selling? You understand supply and demand. You understand fundamentals. For example, RDW, that's an adverse opinion by the auditor. Adverse opinion is one of the worst things that can be said about a stock from the auditor. So by understanding an adverse opinion as opposed to going concern. So a lot of these stocks and small caps, they're all going concerns, which is bad, which is it's good. It's a nice thing to see, a nice tidbit. Okay, going concern, great. I understand this is a bad company because the thing is sometimes, for example, with biotechs, they have this language that's very difficult to understand. So that's what catches short sellers off guard. So like it's but like stocks that are not biotechs that we know, like for example, once I shorted some golf cart EV company, or there's like a cartoon company. Literally, TON was a cartoon company. There was a speedboat company with like these weak speedboats, or some glider company trying to do like electric vehicle gliders or something. So you can always spot what's like kind of borderline fraud, or what's it like they're just on the market to milk the market. But like biotechs is a different animal. You got like very sophisticated players in there, like biotech hedge funds and stuff. So even though the drug likely won't get FDA approval, it's still like in the industry, like moving the industry forward. You could run into some problems. There's a lot of fake biotechs for sure, but there's some that like they have real scientists in there. They're really trying to find a cure for something, and you have people supporting that. Not only people, but also hedge funds with sophisticated players, with doctors, with scientists on the fund, like on the board of the fund, or like part of the fund, making an opinion and a thesis, and making a investment based on the thesis that you don't know, and they have more money and than you, and they can squeeze you. So um, it's all knowing your competition, know that's why I choose the small caps. That's why I choose bad companies, is knowing how to go in there and see the fundamentals, digging for hints that they're going to increase their supply, what's their cash need. This is all great. This is all good information. So this increases the odds of your short selling. So my rules were created not only from my losses, but also through research and data. So by using all that combined, especially with technical analysis, mastering technical analysis is the easy part. That's for you to use for entries and exits, which I use anchored VWAP for my intraday entries and exits. And I have a chapter on anchored VWAP in my book. It's very, very good. Um, but technical analysis is for entries and exits, forming a thesis, and you know, understanding supply and demand, and knowing when to enter. For example, I mentioned warrants and convertibles, knowing those prices that they have, those warrants and convertibles, and who owns them. Because, for example, if the CEO owns some like directly, he's probably not going to dump them because it's going to be a bad sign to the company if he dumps them. However, if some institutions like Armistice, Intracoastal, and several others, I use a software called Short Finder. It has a whole chart of all the institutions and the people that are prevalent in small caps. What are the odds of them doing what they're going to selling or not? It's very useful. But like I enter 15% sometimes, 30% or more above those prices. So that helps keep me in check for my entries. If I'm waiting to enter above those prices, I'm in a safe zone. Now, most short sellers they see the dilution. We all like dilution tracker has it there. Ask Edgar has it there. We have AIs. You just type where it is, and AI for the most part will answer for you, give you some insight on that. Now, why do short sellers get squeezed? Because they don't have strict rules. They're just shorting willy-nilly. They see it there, but they shorted before, and they get squeezed, and the stock usually goes to those dilution prices. And it's a combination of manipulation and buying, but most importantly, once it hits that area, to get to those prices, I mean, manipulation and buying to get there. But once it gets there, gets above it, the dilution owners, that's now they're in the money. So when they're in the money, they're more likely to dump it. And when they dump it, that supply increases, so the stock hits a lot of resistance there. So not only that's why technical analysis is great, but more importantly than technical analysis for small caps is knowing those prices where they're going to hit a lot of resistance at those prices because the supply will just increase. And that's the way it goes. Um, we have about 5 minutes left. I want to open it up for Q&A, but before we do that, just want to mention to everybody, whoever gets Short Selling Master, go to shortsellingmaster.com. You send a DM or a message with the pre-order screenshot, and you get a lot of bonus materials. And on the website of Short Selling, on the Harriman House website, the publisher, they give you 3 free chapters. But I'm going to give you more stuff anyway if you go to shortsellingmaster.com. It took me 2 years to write the book, and it's I couldn't find anything when I was first learning trading on short selling, so I created the book for short selling. So it's a good start. It's moving the industry forward because there's not much information out there on short selling. But anyways, yeah, I want to open it up for questions if anyone has questions.
All right, David, thank you so much. We had a viewer here. They were wondering what trading habit would you encourage every trader to develop immediately?
Uh, okay, knowing what you're not going to trade, filter like your criteria. You got to have some criteria. So immediately you got to have your criteria of what you're not going to trade. And also the mindset of you got to survive your learning curve. And that goes with the criteria you're not going to trade. So knowing what you can't just trade everything. You got to know what you're not going to trade first. And just surviving your learning curve, which means that mindset of this is going to take a while, and I gotta learn first. So you have to survive.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much. Um, what common misconceptions do investors have about short selling?
That you just exposing yourself to unlimited risk all the time. It's not all the time. It's for certain stocks that you want to avoid. You have to know what you're going to avoid, and you can't just short something based on, hey, it's a scam, I want to short it. Jim Chanos lost his whole hedge fund. Um, Jim Chanos was a legendary short seller. He made about 800 billion or 800 million, 800 million. And up until 2018 or so. And then he lost 600 million on Tesla. He was absolutely wrong. And so most people see that they're like, "Oh my God, short selling is," but like, why are you shorting a big cap company? Don't stay away from that. Short only garbage. I only short garbage, and I only short stuff that's even if it's garbage. Like today, I saw a stock, a couple of them that were absolute trash, and they're up, but the float is too small. I can't get in there. The flow can squeeze. Things don't have to make sense in the stock market, especially for short selling. It can go 1,000% up. And I have a podcast too. My YouTube channel, David Capablanca. I interviewed some of these underwriters, a couple of them, a couple years ago, and they're like, "Yeah, that's just a stock. It's just a price swing. It's just a price swing. We can't, it's just normal." So like, you don't want to fight that. Like, no one's gonna have your back. You're like, "Hey, this doesn't make any sense. What, 1,000%? I just lost my account. What the hell?" So you like that's just part of the market. So understanding supply and demand, especially when the supply is too low, you got to stay out of that. And then at the same time, don't short real companies. You know, don't fight because the big caps, the whole market, it just keeps going up. So, and it's the market is held by the Magnificent Seven, like the billion-dollar companies. They're all real for the most part. It's like you can find some fraud in there, but you're gonna have to do a lot of due diligence. That's why I have Fugazi Research. It's for that. But like, you want to short the easy stuff, the layups. Short the borderline fraud companies. Don't short the real companies.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Um, Another viewer here, they're wondering, are there sectors currently displaying the warning signs that you look for as a short seller?
Yes, I don't short any hot sectors. When AI is going bonkers, I stay away from that. Last year, crypto treasuries are going bonkers. Stay away from that. Right now, the oil stocks war is like when you narrow down your tradable stocks, life is just easier. I can sit here, do a webinar in the middle of the day. Look, I was trading like a lot today. I was very active. Um, so it's when you have less to trade, it's just that you can narrow in and focus. It's a lot easier. So yeah, just don't trade the hot themes. Don't trade the oil and gas right now, for example. Um, yeah.
Are there specific warning signs that tell you, hey, it's time to step away from trading for the day?
Yeah, if I'm thinking about breaking my rules, I'm a human being too. Sometimes I'll say I'll justify a reason to make a bad trade. And and a lot of times I'm already up on the day a lot. And why am I so like that's a sign to me. I'm aware now with experience. I'm like, okay, it's time. Let me go for a walk. Let me go get some food, uh, you know, and do other things, because I'm aware of that.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Looks like we have just under a minute here. One question came in wanting you to predict the World Cup winner. I don't know
Argentina,
if there you go. All right.
that
And
that game was crazy yesterday. I was trading and they scored like 3 goals in 20 minutes. I was like, what? Yeah, it was crazy. I refreshed the screen and they
yep,
won.
exactly. And finally, how has your approach evolved compared to 5 years ago? And are you constantly growing?
Yeah, my approach and just my rules got stricter and they got my behaviors got stricter and solidified too. I used to get distracted by certain uh things like social media and stuff. I just took all that out, and my rules are great, and I just solidify it. Like nobody interferes with my rules. Some people disagree. Hey, I don't care. My rules are my rules. I don't compromise my rules. No Chinese stocks, no nano floats. I don't care if everybody talks about nano floats. It's not for me. I'm staying away, and I focus more intensity and more focus on what I do well, and I just go bigger and I execute it more efficiently, and I keep growing from there. And yeah, that's the way. Yeah, just keep growing.
All right, everyone, we are speaking with David Capablanca, host of the Friendly Bear podcast. David, thank you so much for being here and your great knowledge. It's very appreciated.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, and a big thank you for attending Money Show's virtual event. Stick around. We have more great content coming your way over the next day and a half. So be sure to check out all the virtual booths in the virtual platform and download any materials that you can find. Add those to your virtual briefcase. You'll be able to access those even after the event. So stick around. We'll be right back with you.